Act 1 of Mercator, the Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus, translated by Henry Thomas Riley. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Dramatis Personae.
Demipho,
An aged Athenian.
read by Algy Pug.
Lysimachus, an aged Athenian, read by Larry Wilson.
Charinus, son of Demipho, who is in love with Pasicompsa, read by Priamedes.
Eutychus,
Son of Lysimachus.
read by Adrian
Acanthio, servant to Charinus, read by Alan Mapstone.
A Cook, read by Todd.
Pasicompsa, a young woman beloved by Charinus, read by Jenn
BrodaDorippa, wife of Lysimachus, read by Felicia MolyneuxSyra,
An old woman, her servant.
read by
laurakgibbsPeristrata, the wife of Demipho, read by Agnes Robert
BehrLycissa, her attendant, read by Stacey M.
Servant, read by Giordano.
Stage Directions, read by Sonia. Scene, Athens, before the houses of Lysimachus and Demipho, which are adjacent to each other. Act 1, Scene 1. The Prologue, spoken by Charinus.
2 things have I now resolved to do at the same time. Both the subject and my own amours will I disclose. I am not doing like as I have seen other lovers do in comedies, who relate their woes either to the night or to the day, or to the sun or to the moon, who, faith, I don't suppose pay much regard to the complaints of mortals, either what they wish or what they don't wish. To yourselves in preference will I now relate my woes. In the Greek this play is called the Empress of Philemon, the same in Latin as the Mercator of Marcus Accius. My father sent me hence to trade at Rhodes. 2 years have now passed since I left home. There I began to love a fair one of remarkable beauty. But how I was captivated by her, I'll tell you, if you'll lend ear, and if you'll have the kindness to give your attention to this. And yet in this but little have I followed the method of our forefathers in my own person, and on the spot as a tell-tale of my own amours am I represented before you. But all these failings are wont to attend on love, care, trouble, and refinement overmuch. Not only him who loves, but every one to whom this latter fault extends him, with a great and weighty evil does it affect. Nor by my troth, in fact, does any one aim at refinement beyond what his means allow of, without heavy disaster. But to love as well are these evils incident, which I have not as yet recounted: sleeplessness, a troubled mind, confusion, terror, and apprehension, trifling, and folly even, rashness too, thoughtlessness, foolhardy impudence, wantonness, lust, and malevolence. Covetousness is inherent as well, idleness, injustice, want, contumely, and wastefulness, talkativeness, or moody silence. This latter is the fact, because things which relate not to the purpose, nor are of utility, the same does the lover give utterance to full, oft at an unseasonable moment. And yet again this moody silence for this reason do I commend, because no lover is ever so skilled in eloquence as to be enabled to give utterance to that which is for his own interest. You then must not be offended with myself for my babbling. Venus bestowed it upon me on that same day on which this passion. To that point am I resolved to return, that what I commenced upon I may disclose. In the first place, when in life I had passed from my boyish days, and my disposition was weaned from childish pursuits, I began distractedly to love a courtesan in this place. Forthwith, unknown to my father, my means went to be wasted upon her. An exacting procurer, the owner of this damsel, by every method that he could, grasped everything into his own possession. Night and day my father censured me for this, represented the perfidy, the wickedness of procurers. how that his own property was being forcibly rent in pieces, while that of this procurer was increasing. This too in the loudest tones, sometimes muttering to himself, refusing to speak to me, even denying that I was his child, crying aloud through all the city, and proclaiming that all should withhold from trusting me when desiring to borrow, that love had allured many a one to ruin, that I, passing all bounds, regardless of decency, and acting wrongfully, laid hands upon and tore whatever I could from him at home, that 'twas a most vile system that those choice possessions which he, by enduring every hardship, had acquired, should all be squandered away and parted with through the violence of my desire, that now for so many years he had supported myself, a reproach to him, that were I not ashamed I ought not to desire to live, that he himself, at the very moment after he had passed his boyish days, did not, like me, devote his attention to love or indolence and slothfulness, nor, indeed, had he the control of himself, so very strictly by his father was he held in check, that in the various sordid pursuits of the country he was employed, and that only every 5th year even was he then enabled to visit the city, and that immediately after he had a sight of the festival, back again instantly into the country was he wont to be driven by his father, that there by far the most of all the household did he toil, while thus his father would say to him, For yourself you are ploughing, for yourself you harrow, for yourself you sow, for your own self too do you reap, for yourself in fine will this labor be productive of happiness. That after life had left his father's body, he had sold the farm, and with that money had bought for himself a bark of 15 tons, and with the same had transported merchandise to every quarter, even until he had acquired the property which he then possessed. That I ought to do the same, if I would be as it behoved me to be. I, when I found out that I was disliked by my father, and was an object of hate to him, whom I was bound to please, distracted and in love as I was, resolutely made up my mind. I said that I would go to traffic, if he pleased, that I would renounce my amour, so as to be obedient to him. He gave me thanks and praised my good feeling, but failed not to exact my promise. He built a merchant ship, and purchased merchandise. The ship ready, he placed it on board. Besides, to myself, with his own hand, he paid down a talent of silver. With me he sent a servant, who formerly had been my tutor from the time when I was a little child, to be as though a guardian to me. These things completed, we set sail. We came to Rhodes, where the merchandise which I had brought I sold to my mind according as I wished. I made great profits, beyond the estimates of the merchandise which my father had given me, and so I made a large sum. But while in the harbor I was walking there, a certain stranger recognized me, and invited me to dinner. I went and took my place at table, being merrily and handsomely entertained. When at night we went to rest, behold, a female came to me, than whom not another female is there more charming. That night, by order of my entertainer, did she pass with me. Consider your own selves how very much he gratified me. Next day I went to my host. I begged him to sell her to me. I said that for his kindness I should ever be grateful and obliged. What need is there for talking? I bought her, and yesterday I brought her hither. I don't wish my father to come to know I've brought her. For the present I've left her and a servant in the harbor on board the ship. But why do I see my servant running hither from the harbor, whom I forbade to leave the ship? I dread what the reason may be.
Stands aside. Scene 2. Enter Acanthio at a distance in haste. Acanthio to himself.
With your utmost power and might, always try and endeavour that your younger master may by your aid be preserved. Come then, Acanthio, away with weariness from you. Take care to be on your guard against sloth. At the same time, put an end to this panting. Truth, I can hardly fetch my breath. At the same time, too, drive right full against all those persons who come in the way, shove them aside, and push them into the road. This custom here is a very bad one. No one thinks it proper for him to give way to one who is running and in haste, and thus 3 things must be done at the same moment, when you have commenced upon but one. You must both run and fight and squabble as well upon the road.
Charinus apart.
What's the reason of this? That he's requiring speed for himself at a rate so rapid? I have some anxiety, what the business is, or what news he brings.
Acanthio to himself.
I'm trifling about it. The more I stop, the greater the risks that's run.
Charinus apart.
He brings some news of misfortune. I know not what.
Acanthio to himself.
His knees are failing this runner. I'm undone. My spleen is in rebellion. It's taking possession of my breast. I'm done up. I can't draw my breath. A very worthless piper I should be. Faith, not all the bars will ever remove this latitude from me. Am I to say that my master Charinus is at home or abroad?
Charinus apart.
I'm doubtful in my mind what the matter is. I'd like for myself to learn of him, that I may become acquainted with it.
Acanthio to himself.
But why still standing here? Why still hesitating to make splinters of this door?
Knocks at the door of Demipho's house and calls.
Open the door, someone! Where's my master Charinus? Is he at home or abroad? Does anyone think fit to come to the door?
Charinus, presenting himself.
Why, here I am, whom you're looking for, Acanthio.
Acanthio, not seeing him.
There is nowhere a more lazy management than in his house.
What matter is afflicting you so terribly?
Acanthio, turning round.
Many, master, both yourself and me.
What's the matter?
We are undone.
That beginning do you present unto our foes.
But your own self it has befallen, as fate would have it.
Tell me this matter, whatever it is.
Quietly, I want to take a rest.
He pants.
But, I faith, do take the skirt out of your coat and wipe the sweat from you.
For your sake I burst the veins of my lungs. I'm spitting blood already.
He spits.
Swallow Egyptian resin with honey. You'll make it all right.
Then, i'faith, do you drink hot pitch. Then your troubles will vanish.
I know no one a more tetchy fellow than yourself.
And I know no one more abusive than yourself.
But what if I'm persuading you to that which I take to be for your benefit?
Away with benefit of that sort. That's accompanied with pain.
Tell me, is there any good at all that anyone can enjoy entirely without evil, or where you mustn't endure labor when you wish to enjoy it?
I don't understand these things. I never learnt to philosophize and don't know how. I don't want any good to be given me to which evil is an accompaniment.
Charinus, extending his hand.
Come now, Acanthio, give me your right hand.
It shall be given. There, then, take it.
Gives his hand.
Do you intend yourself to be obedient to me, or don't you intend it?
You may judge by experience, as I've ruptured myself with running for your sake, in order that what I knew you might have the means of knowing directly.
I'll make you a free man within a few months.
You are smoothing me down.
What should I presume ever to make mention of an untrue thing to you? On the contrary, before I said so, you knew already whether I intended to utter an untruth.
Your words, upon my faith, are increasing my weakness. You are worrying me to death.
What, is this the way you're obedient to me?
What do you want me to do?
What I want is this.
What is it then that you do want?
I'll tell you.
Tell me then.
But still, I'd like to do it in a quiet way.
Are you afraid lest you should wake the drowsy spectators from their nap?
Woe be to you.
For my part, that same am I bringing you from the harbour.
What are you bringing? Tell me.
Violence, alarm, torture, care, strife, and beggary.
I'm undone. You really are bringing me hither a store of evils. I'm ruined outright.
Why, yes, you are.
I know it already. You'll be saying I'm wretched.
'Tis you have said so. I'm mum.
What mishap is this?
Don't inquire. It is a very great calamity.
Prithee, do relieve me at once. Too long a time have I been in suspense.
Softly. I still wish to make many inquiries before I'm beaten.
By my troth, you assuredly will be beaten, unless you say at once or get away from here.
Do look at that, please, how he does coax me. There's no one more flattering when he sets about it.
By heavens, I do entreat and beseech you to disclose to me at once what it is, inasmuch as I see that I must be the suppliant of my own servant.
And do I seem so unworthy of it?
Oh no, quite worthy.
Well, so I thought.
Prithee, is the ship lost?
The ship's all right. Don't fear about that.
Well then, the rest of the cargo?
That's right and tight.
Why then don't you tell me what it is, for which just now, running through the city, you were seeking me?
Really, you're taking the words out of my mouth.
I'll hold my tongue.
Do hold your tongue. I doubt if I brought you any good news you'd be dreadfully pressing, who are now insisting upon my speaking out when you must hear bad news.
Troth then, prithee, do you let me know what this misfortune is?
Since you beg me, I'll tell you. Your father...
My father did what?
Your mistress...
What about her?
He has seen her.
Seen her? Oh, wretch that I am! What I ask you, answer me.
Nay, but do you ask me if you want anything?
How could he see her?
With his eyes.
In what way?
Wide open.
Away hence and be hanged. You are trifling when my life's at stake.
How the plague am I trifling if I answer you what you ask me?
Did he see her for certain?
Aye, troth, as certainly as I see you and you see me.
Where did he see her?
Down on board the ship, as he stood near the prow and chatted with her.
Father, you have undone me. Come now, you, sir. Why, you whip rascal, didn't you take care that he mightn't see her? Why, villain, didn't you stow her away that my father mightn't perceive her?
Because we were busily employed about our business. We were engaged in packing up and arranging the cargo. While these things are being done, your father was brought alongside in a very small boat, and not an individual beheld the man until he was aboard the ship.
In vain have I escaped the sea with its dreadful tempests. Just now I really did suppose that I was both ashore and in a place of safety, but I see that by the raging waves am I being hurried towards the rocks. Say on, what took place?
After he espied the woman, he began to ask her to whom she belonged.
What did she answer?
That instant I ran up and interposed, saying that you had brought her as a maid-servant for your mother.
Did he seem to believe you in that?
Do you e'en ask me that? Why, the rogue began to take liberties with her.
Prithee, what with her?
'Twere a wonder if he'd taken liberties with myself.
By heavens, my heart is saddened, which drop by drop is melting away, just as though you were to put salt in water. I'm undone.
Aye, that one expression have you most truly uttered.
This is mere folly. What shall I do? I do think my father won't believe me if I say that I bought her for my mother. And then, besides, it seems to me a shame that I should tell a lie to my parents. He'll neither believe, nor indeed is it credible, that I bought this woman of surpassing beauty as a maidservant for my mother.
Won't you be quiet, you most silly man? Troth, he will believe it, for he just now believed me.
I'm dreadfully afraid that a suspicion will reach my father how the matter really stands. Prithee, answer me this that I ask you.
What do you ask?
Did he seem to suspect that she was my mistress?
He did not seem. On the contrary, in everything, just as I have said it, he believed me.
As being true as he seemed to yourself, at least.
Not so, but he really did believe me.
Ah, wretched man that I am! I'm ruined! But why do I kill myself here with repining, and don't be off to the ship? Follow me.
Hastening along.
If you go that way, you'll conveniently come slap upon your father. As soon as he shall see you, dismayed and out of spirits, at once he'll be stopping you and inquiring where you bought her and for how much you bought her. He'll be trying you in your dismay.
Charinus, turning about.
I'll go this way in preference. Do you think that by this my father has left the harbour?
Why, it was for that reason that I ran before him hither, that he mightn't come upon you unawares and fish it out of you.
Very properly done.
Exeunt. End of Act 1. Act 2 of Mercator, the Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus, translated by Henry Thomas Riley. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Demipho. Demipho to himself.
In wondrous ways do the gods make sport of men, and in wondrous fashions do they send dreams in sleep. As, for instance, I, this very last night that has passed, have sufficiently experienced in my sleep, and mortal that I am, was much occupied therewith. I seem to have purchased for myself a beautiful she-goat, that she might not offend that other she-goat, which I had at home before, and that they mightn't disagree if they were both in the same spot. After that I had purchased her, I seemed to entrust her to the charge of an ape. This ape, not very long afterwards, came to me, uttered imprecations against me, and assailed me with reproaches. He said that by her means, and through the arrival of the she-goat, he had suffered injury and loss in no slight degree. He said that the she-goat, which I had entrusted him to keep, had gnawed away the marriage portion of his wife. This seemed extremely wonderful to me, how this single she-goat could possibly have gnawed away the marriage portion of the wife of the ape. The ape, however, insisted that it was so, and in short gave me this answer, that if I didn't make haste and remove her away from his own house, he would bring her home into my house to my wife. And, by my troth, I seemed very greatly to take an interest in her, but not to have any one to whom to entrust this she-goat. Wherefore, the more, in my distress, was I tormented with anxiety what to do. Meanwhile a kid appeared to address me, and began to tell me that he had carried off the she-goat from the ape, and began to laugh at me. But I began to lament and complain that she was carried off. To what reality I am to suppose that this vision points, I can't discover, except that I suspect that I have just now discovered this she-goat, what she is, or what it all means. This morning at daybreak I went away hence down to the harbour. After I had transacted there what I wanted, suddenly I spied the ship from Rhodes, in which my son arrived here yesterday. I had an inclination, I know not why, to visit it. I went on board a boat, and put off to the ship, and there I beheld a woman of surpassing beauty, whom my son has brought as a maidservant for his mother. After I had thus beheld her, I fell in love with her, not as men in their senses, but after the fashion in which madmen are wont. I'faith, in former times, in my youthful days, I fell in love, 'tis true, but after this fashion, according as I am now distracted, never. Now, beyond a doubt, surely thus this matter stands. This is that she-goat. But what that ape and that kid mean, I'm afraid. One thing, i'faith, I really do know for certain, that I'm undone for love.
To the audience.
Consider yourselves the other point. What a poor creature I am. But I'll hold my tongue. Lo, I see my neighbour. He's coming out of doors.
Stands aside. Scene 2. Enter Lysimachus and the servant with some rakes from the house of the former.
Really, I will have this goat mutilated that's giving us so much trouble at the farm.
Demipho, apart.
Neither this omen nor this augury pleases me. I'm afraid that my wife will be just now mutilating me like the he-goat, and be acting the part of this same ape.
Do you go hence to my country house, and take care and deliver personally into his own hands those rakes to the bailiff Pistis himself. Take care and tell my wife that I have business in the city, so that she mayn't expect me. For do you mention that I have 3 causes coming on for judgment to-day. Be off, and remember to say this.
Anything more?
That's enough.
Exit servant. Demipho, stepping forward.
Greetings to you, Lysimachus.
Well met, and greetings to you, Demipho. How are you? How goes it?
As with one that's most wretched.
May the gods grant better things.
As for the gods, it's they that do this.
What's the matter?
I'd tell you, if I saw that you had time or leisure.
Although I have business in hand, if you wish for anything, Demipho, I'm never too busy to give attention to a friend.
You speak of your kindness to myself, who have experienced it. How do I seem to you as to age?
A subject for Acheron, an antiquated, decrepit old fellow.
You see in a wrong light. I am a child, Lysimachus, of 7 years old.
Are you in your senses to say that you are a child?
I'm telling what's true.
Faith, it has this moment come into my mind what you mean to say. Directly a person is old, no longer has he sense or taste. People say that he has become a child again.
Why, no, for I'm twice as hearty as ever I was before.
Faith, it's well that so it is, and I'm glad of it.
Ay, and if you did but know, with my eyes too, I see even better than I did formerly.
That's good.
Of a thing that's bad I'm speaking.
Then that same is not good.
But if I wished at all, could I venture to disclose something to you?
Boldly.
Give heed, then.
It shall be carefully done.
This day, Lysimachus, I've begun to go to school to learn my letters. I know 3 letters already.
How? 3 letters?
A, M, O. I am in love.
What? You in love with your hoary head? You most shocking old fellow!
Whether that is hoary, or whether red, or whether black, I'm in love.
You're now playing upon me in this, I fancy, Demipho.
Cut my throat if it's false, what I'm saying. That you may be sure I'm in love, take a knife, and do you cut off either my finger or my ear, or my nose, or my lip. If I move me, or feel that I'm being cut, then, Lysimachus, I give you leave to torture me to death here with being in love.
Lysimachus, aside to the audience.
If ever you've seen a lover in a picture, why there he is.
Pointing at Demipho.
For really, in my way of thinking, an antiquated, decrepit old man is just about the same as though he were a figure painted upon a wall.
Now, I suppose you are thinking of censuring me.
What, I censure you?
Well, there's no reason that you should censure me. Other distinguished men have done the like before. It's natural to be in love. It's natural as well to be considerate. Then, please, don't reprove me. No inclination impelled me to this.
Why, I'm not reproving you.
But still, don't you think any the worse of me for acting thus?
I think the worse of you? Oh, may the deities forbid it!
Still, please, only do take care of that.
Due care is taken.
Quite sure?
You are wearing me out.
Aside.
This person's deranged through love.
To Demipho.
Do you desire aught with me?
Farewell.
I'm making haste to the harbour, for I've got business there.
Good luck go with you.
Heartily fare you well.
Kindly fare you well.
Exit Lysimachus. Scene 3. Demipho alone.
And what's more, I too as well have got some business at the harbour. Now, therefore, I shall be off thither. But look, most opportunely I see my son. I'll wait to the fellow. It's necessary for me now to see him, to persuade him, as far as I possibly can, to sell her to me, and not make a present of her to his mother, for I've heard that he has brought her as a present for her. But I have need of precaution, that he mayn't anyway imagine that I have set my fancy upon her.
Scene 4. Enter Charinus at a distance. Charinus to himself.
Never, I do think, was any person more wretched than myself, nor one who had more everlasting crosses. Isn't it the fact that whatever thing there is that I have commenced to attempt, it cannot fall out of my wish according as I desire? To such an extent is some evil fortune always befalling me, which overwhelms my fair intentions. To my misfortune I procured me a mistress to please my inclination. I acquired her for a sum of money, fancying that I could keep her unknown to my father. He has found her out, and has seen her, and has undone me. Nor have I yet determined what to say when he asks me. So much do uncertain thoughts, aye, tenfold, struggle within my breast. Nor know I now in my mind what resolution I can possibly take. So much uncertainty, mingled with anxiety, is there in my feelings. At one moment the advice of my servant pleases me, then again it doesn't please me. And it doesn't seem possible for my father to be induced to think that she was bought as a maidservant for my mother. Now if I say, as is the fact, and declare that I purchased her for myself, what will he think of me? He may take her away too, and carry her hence beyond the sea to be sold. Well taught at home, I know how severe he is. Is this, then, being in love? I'd rather be at the plough-tail than in love in this fashion. Before today, long ago, he drove me away against my inclination from his house, my home, and bade me go in traffic. There did I meet with this misfortune. When its misery can surpass its pleasure, what is there delightful in it? In vain I've hidden her, concealed her, kept her in secret. My father's a very fly. Nothing can be kept away from him. Nothing so sacred or so profane is there, but that he's there at once. Neither have I any assured hope in my mind through which to feel confidence in my fortunes.
Demipho, apart.
What's the reason of this, that my son is talking to himself alone? He seems to be anxious about some matter, I know not what.
Charinus, looking round.
Heyday now! Why, surely it's my father here that I see. I'll go and accost him.
Accosting him.
How goes it, father?
Whence do you come? Why are you in a hurry, my son?
It's all right, father.
So I trust. But what's the reason that your colour's so changed? Do you feel ill at all?
I know not what it is affects my spirits, father. This last night I didn't rest quite as well as I wished.
As you've been travelling by sea, your eyes, I suppose, are at present rather unaccustomed to the shore.
No doubt it is that. But it will be going off presently.
Troth, it's for that reason you are pale. If you were prudent, you'd go home and lie down.
I haven't the leisure. I wish to attend to business on commission.
Attend to it tomorrow. The day after, attend to it.
I've often heard from you, father. It behoves all wise men, the first thing, to give their earliest attention to business upon commission.
Do so, then. I've no wish to be striving against your opinion.
Charinus, aside.
I'm all right if, indeed, his adherence to this sentiment is immovable and lasting.
Demipho, aside.
Why is it that he calls himself aside into counsel with himself? I'm not afraid now lest he should be able to come to know that I'm in love with her, because I've not as yet done anything in a foolish manner, as people in love are wont to do.
Charinus, aside.
In faith, the affair for the present is really quite safe, for I'm quite certain that he doesn't know anything about that mistress of mine. If he did know, his talk would have been different.
Demipho, aside.
Why don't I accost him about her?
Charinus, aside.
Why don't I betake myself off hence?
Aloud.
I'm going to deliver the commissions from my friends to their friends.
Moves as if going.
Nay, but stop. I still want to make a few inquiries of you first.
Say what it is you wish.
Have you all along been well?
Quite well all the time, so long, indeed, as I was there. But as soon as I had arrived here in harbour, I don't know what faintness it was came over me.
Faith, I suppose it arose from seasickness. But we'll be going off just now. But how say you? What servant maid is this you have brought from Rhodes for your mother?
I've bought one.
Well, what sort of a woman is she as to appearance?
Not an ill-favoured one, in faith.
How is she as to manners?
In my way of thinking, I never saw one better.
So, indeed, i' faith, she seemed to me when I saw her.
How now have you seen her, father?
I have seen her, but she doesn't suit our ways, and so she doesn't please me.
Why so?
Because she hasn't a figure suitable to our establishment. We stand in need of no female servants, but one who can weave, grind, chop wood, make yarn, sweep out the house, stand a beating, and who can have everyone's victuals cooked for the household. This one will be able to do not any single one of these things.
Why, in fact, for this reason I purchased her, to make a present of her to my mother.
Don't you be giving her, nor mention that you have brought her.
Charinus, aside.
The deities favour me.
Demipho, aside.
I'm shaking him by slow degrees.
Aloud.
But what I omitted to say, she can neither with due propriety follow your mother as an attendant, nor will I allow it.
But why?
Because, with those good looks, it would be scandalous if she were to be following a matron when she's walking through the streets. Old people would be staring, gazing, nodding, winking, hissing, twitching, crying out, "Be annoying," and singing serenades at our door. My door, perhaps, would be filled with the charcoal marks of her praises. And, according as persons are scandalizing at the present day, they might throw it in the teeth of my wife and myself that we are carrying on the business of a procurer. Now, what occasion is there for this?
Why, faith, you say what's just, and I agree with you. But what shall be done with her now?
Exactly. I'll buy for your mother some stout wench of a female slave, not a bad servant, but of ungainly figure, as befits the mistress of a family, either a Syrian or an Egyptian woman. She shall do the grinding, spin out the yarn, and stand a lashing, and on her account no disgrace at all will be befalling our doors.
What then if she is restored to the person of whom she was purchased?
By no means in the world.
He said that he would take her back if she didn't suit.
There's no need of that. I don't want you to get into litigation, nor yet your honour be called into question. In troth, I would much rather, if any must be endured, put up with the loss myself, than that disgrace or scandal on account of a woman should be brought upon my house. I think I am able to sell for you at a good profit.
In faith, so long indeed as you don't be selling her at a less price than I bought her at, father.
Do you only hold your tongue? There is a certain old gentleman who commissioned me to buy one for him of just that same appearance.
But, father, a certain young man commissioned me to buy one for him of just that same appearance that she is of.
I think that I am able to dispose of her for 20 minae.
But if I had chosen, there have already been 27 minae offered.
But I...
Nay, but I say...
But you don't know what I was going to say. Do hold your tongue. I can add 3 minae even to that, so that there will be 30.
Looks as though on one side at a distance.
What are you turning yourself towards?
Towards him who's making the purchase.
Charinus, staring about.
Why, where in the world is this person?
Look there, I see him, yonder.
Pointing.
He's bidding me even still to add 5 minae.
Charinus, aside.
By my troth, may the gods send a curse upon him, whoever he is.
Demipho, looking in the distance.
There he is again, making a sign to me, even still, for me to add 6 minae.
My man is bidding 7 minae for her full weight, father.
Aside.
In faith, he shall never this day outdo me.
He's bidding in vain. I will have her.
But the other one made the first offer.
I care nothing for that.
He bids 50.
No, 100's the offer. Can you desist from bidding against the determination of my mind? In truth, you'll be having an immense profit, in such a way as this old gentleman for whom she's being purchased. He's not in his senses by reason of his love. Whatever you ask, you'll get.
In faith, that young man for whom I'm purchasing is assuredly dying with distraction for love of her.
Troth, very much more so is that old gentleman, if you did but know it.
In faith, that old man never was nor ever will be more distracted with love than that young man, father, to whom I'm lending this assistance.
Do be quiet, I tell you. I'll see to that matter. That is all right.
How say you?
What is it?
I didn't take her for a slave, but it was he that took her for such.
Let me alone.
By law, you cannot put her up for sale.
I'll somehow see to that.
And then besides, she's the common property of myself and another person. How do I know he's disposed? Whether he does wish or doesn't wish to sell her?
I'm sure he does wish.
But, in faith, I believe that there's a certain person who doesn't wish.
What matters that to me?
Because it's right that he should have the disposal of his own property.
What is it you say?
She is the common property of myself and another person. He isn't here at present.
You are answering me before I ask.
You are buying, father, before I sell. I don't know, I say, whether he chooses to part with her or not.
But if she is purchased for that certain person who gave you the commission, will he choose it then? If I purchase her for that person who gave me the commission, will he then not choose it? You avail nothing. Never, on my faith, shall any person have her in preference to the person that I wish. That I'm resolved upon.
Have you made up your mind that it is resolved upon?
Why, I'm going hence at once to the ship. There she shall be sold.
Do you wish me to go there with you?
I don't wish you.
You don't choose it, then?
It's better for you to give your earliest attention to the business which you've been commissioned upon.
You are hindering me from doing so.
Then do you make your excuse that you have used all diligence. Don't you go to the harbour, I tell you that now.
That shall be attended to.
Demipho, aside.
I'll be off to the harbour, and I have need of caution, lest he should find it out. I'll not buy her myself, but commission my friend Lysimachus. He said just now that he was going to the harbour. I'm delaying while I'm standing here.
Exit. Scene 5. Charinus alone. Charinus, wringing his hands and crying aloud.
I'm lost! I'm undone! They say that the Bacchanals tore Pentheus to pieces. I do believe that that was the merest trifle compared with the matter in which I am rent asunder in different ways. Why do I exist? Why don't I die? What good is there for me in life? I'm determined I'll go to a doctor, and there I'll put myself to death by poison, since that is being taken from me for the sake of which I desire to remain in existence.
He is going off. Scene 6. Enter Eutychus from the house of Lysimachus.
Stop! Prithee, stop, Charinus!
Charinus, turning.
Who is that calls me back?
Eutychus, your friend and companion, your nearest neighbour as well.
You don't know what a vast weight of my woes I am enduring.
I do know. I listened to it all at the door. I know the whole matter.
What is it that you know?
Your father wishes to sell...
You have the whole matter.
Your mistress...
You know by far too much.
Against your wish.
You know everything. But how do you know that this woman is my mistress?
You yourself told me yesterday.
Isn't it the fact that I had quite forgotten that I told you yesterday?
It's not surprising it is so.
I now consult you. Answer me. By what death do you think that I should die in preference?
Won't you hold your peace? Take you care how you say that.
What then do you wish me to say?
Should you like me to trick your father nicely?
I really should like it.
Should you like me to walk to the harbour?
What, rather than that you should fly?
And release the fair one for a sum?
What, rather than you should pay her weight in gold?
Whence is it to come?
I'll entreat Achilles to lend me the gold with which Hector was ransomed.
Are you in your senses?
In faith, if I were in my senses, I shouldn't be seeking you for my physician.
Do you wish her to be purchased for as high a price as he asks?
Throw in something by way of surplus. Even 1,000 didrachms more than he shall demand.
Now, hold your peace. But what say you as to this? Whence will the money come for you to give when your father asks for it?
It shall be found. It shall be sought out. Something shall be done.
You are worrying me to death, for I'm afraid of that something shall be done.
Why won't you hold your tongue?
You give your commands to one who is dumb.
Is this matter sufficiently pointed out to you?
Can't you possibly be attending to something else?
It isn't possible.
Eutychus, going.
Kindly fare you well.
In faith, I cannot fare well before you come back to me.
To better purpose, recover your senses.
Farewell, and prevail, and be my preserver.
I'll do so. Wait for me at home.
Do you take care, then, to betake yourself back just now with the booty.
Exit Eutychus, and Charinus goes into Demipho's house. End of Act 2. Act 3 of Mercator, the Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus, translated by Henry Thomas Riley. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Lysimachus with Pasicompsa weeping. Lysimachus to himself.
I've lent my assistance to my friend in a friendly manner. This piece of goods which my neighbour requested me I've purchased.
Turning to Pasicompsa.
You are my own, then follow me. Don't weep. You are acting very foolishly, spoiling such eyes. Why, really you have more reason to laugh than to be crying.
In the name of heaven, prithee, my good old gentleman, do tell me.
Ask me what you please.
Why have you bought me?
What, I bought you? For you to do what you are bidden. In like manner, what you bid me, I'll do.
I am determined, to the best of my ability and skill, to do what I shall think you desire.
I shall bid you do nothing of laborious work.
Why, really, for my part, my good old gentleman, I haven't learnt, I faith, to carry burdens, or to feed cattle at the farm, or to nurse children.
If you choose to be a good girl, it shall be well for you.
Then, I faith, to my sorrow, I'm undone.
Why so?
Because in the place from which I have been conveyed hither, it used to be well with the worthless.
Lysimachus, aside.
By my troth, her talk alone is worth more than the sum that she was purchased at.
To Pasicompsa.
As though you would say that no woman is good.
Indeed, I don't say so, nor is it my way to say a thing which I believe all people are acquainted with.
I want to ask this one thing of you.
I'll answer when you ask.
What say you now? What am I to say your name is?
Pasicompsa.
The name was given you from your good looks. But what say you, Pasicompsa? Can you, if occasion should arise, spin a fine woof?
I can.
If you know how to do a fine one, I'm sure you can spin a coarser one.
For spinning, I fear no woman that's of the same age.
Upon my faith, I take it that you are good and industrious, since, young woman, now that you are grown up, you know how to do your duty.
I faith, I learned it from a skilful mistress. I won't let my work be called in question.
Well, thus the matter stands, faith. Look now, I'll give you a sheep for your own, one as 60 years old.
My good old gentleman, one so old as that?
It's of a Grecian breed. If you take care of it, it is a very good one. It is shorn very easily.
For the sake of the compliment, whatever it is that shall be given me, I shall receive it with thanks.
Now, damsel, that you mayn't be mistaken, you are not mine, so don't think it.
Prithee, tell me then, whose I am.
You've been bought back for your own master. I've bought you back for him. He requested me to do so.
My spirits have returned, if good faith is kept with me.
Be of good courage. This person will give you your liberty. The troth he did so dote upon you this day, as soon as ever he had seen you.
I faith, it's now 2 years since he commenced his connection with me. Now, as I'm sure that you are a friend of his, I'll disclose it.
How say you? Is it now 2 years since he formed the connection with you?
Certainly it is, and we agreed, in oath, between ourselves, I with him, and he with me, that I would never have intercourse with any man except himself, nor he with any woman except myself.
Immortal gods! Isn't he even to sleep with his wife?
Prithee, is he a married man? He neither is, nor will he be.
Indeed, I wish he wasn't. I'faith, the fellow has been committing perjury.
No young man do I more ardently love.
Why, really, he's a child, you simpleton, for in fact it's not so very long a time since his teeth fell out.
What? His teeth?
It's no matter. Follow me this way, please. He requested that I would find you room for 1 day in my house, since my wife is away in the country.
He goes into his house, followed by Pasicompsa. Scene 2. Enter Demipho. Demipho to himself.
At last I've managed to ruin myself. A mistress has been purchased for me without the knowledge of my wife and son. I'm resolved on it. I'll have recourse again to former habits and enjoy myself. In my allotment of existence, almost now run through, the little that there remains of life, I'll cheer up with pleasure, wine, and love. For it's quite proper for this time of life to enjoy itself. When you are young, then, when the blood is fresh, it's right to devote your exertions to acquiring your fortune. And then, when, at last, you are an old man, you may set yourself at your ease, drink, and be amorous. This, the fact that you are living, is now so much profit. This, as I say, I'll carry out indeed.
Turning to his house.
Meanwhile, however, I'll take a look indoors, here, at my house. My wife has been some time expecting me at home quite hungry. Now she'll be worrying me to death with her scolding, if I go indoors. But, in fine, whatever comes of it, i'faith, I'll not go, but I'll first meet this neighbour of mine before I return home. I want him to hire some house for me, where this damsel may dwell. And see, he's coming out of doors.
Scene 3. Enter Lysimachus from his house. Lysimachus to Pasicompsa within.
I'll bring him to you directly, if I meet him.
Demipho behind.
He's meaning me.
Lysimachus turning about.
How say you, Demipho?
Is the damsel at your house?
What do you suppose?
What if I go see her?
Moves toward the house.
Why making such haste? Stay.
What am I to do?
What you ought to do. Take care and consider.
Consider what? Why, troth, for my part, I think there's need of my doing this, going indoors, there, I mean.
What is it so, you old weather? Would you be going in?
What should I do else?
First, listen to this, and attend. There's something even before this that I think it proper you should do. For if you go now indoors to her, you'll be wishing to embrace her, chatting with her, and kissing her.
Really, you know my feelings. You understand what I would be at?
You will be doing wrong.
What? With that which you love?
So much the less reason. Would you, full of hungriness, with a foul breath, a stinking old fellow, be kissing a woman? And wouldn't you, as you approach, be setting a female vomiting?
I'faith, I'm sure that you're in love, as you point out these things beforehand to me. What, then, if I give a dinner? If you approve of this, let's lay hold of some cook, who may be cooking away a meal here at your house, even until the evening.
Well, I'm of that way of thinking. Now you are talking wisely, and like a lover.
Why are we standing here? Why then don't we be off and procure the provisions, that we may be comfortable?
For my part, I'll follow you, and troth, you'll be finding out a lodging for her, if you are prudent. For faith, she shan't be at my house a single day beyond the present. I'm afraid of my wife, lest she should return from the country tomorrow. She'll be finding her here.
Exeunt. Scene 4. Enter Charinus from Demipho's house. Charinus to himself.
Am I not a wretched mortal who can rest quietly nowhere? If I'm at home, my mind's abroad. But if I'm abroad, my mind's at home. To such a degree has love kindled a flame in my breast and in my heart. Did not the tears fall from my eyes? Why, then, I doubt my head would be on fire. I cling to hope. Safety I've lost. Whether she'll return or no, I know not. If my father seizes her, as he has said, then my welfare is gone in exile. But if my companion has done what he promised, then my welfare has not departed. But still, even if Eutychus had had gouty feet, he could have been back from the harbor by this. This is a very great fault of his, that he is too slow, against the wishes of my feelings. But,
looking towards the side,
isn't this he whom I espy running? 'Tis he himself. I'll go meet him.
Clasps his hands.
Thou who art the overlooker of gods and men, and the mistress of mortals as well, inasmuch as thou hast indulged me in this hope that I entertained, I do return thee thanks. Does any hope remain? Alas, I'm utterly undone. His countenance by no means pleases me. He moves along in sadness. My breast burns. I am in doubt. He shakes his head. Eutychus!
Scene 5. Enter Eutychus.
Alas, Charinus!
Before you take breath, in one word, speak out. Where am I? Here or among the dead?
You are neither among the dead nor here.
I'm saved. Immortality has been vouchsafed me. He has purchased her, and he has nicely tricked my father. There's no one living more clever at gaining his purpose. Prithee, do tell me, if I'm neither here nor at Acheron, where am I?
Nowhere in the world.
I'm utterly undone. That speech has just put an end to me here. Whatever it is, do come to the material points of the matter.
First of all, we are ruined.
But why don't you in preference tell me that which I don't know? It is an annoying way of speaking, when you should dispatch the business, to be beating around the bush.
The damsel has been taken away from you.
Eutychus, you are guilty of a capital offense.
How so?
Because you are killing your year's mate and friend, a free citizen.
May the gods forbid it.
You've thrust a sword into my throat. This moment I shall fall.
Troth now, prithee, don't be desponding in mind.
I have none to be desponding in. Tell on, then, the rest of your bad news. For whom has she been purchased?
I don't know. She had been already knocked down to the bidder and taken off by him when I got to the harbour.
Ah me! Already indeed have you heaped burning mountains of woe upon me. Proceed, executioner, torment me on, since you have once begun.
This is not more of a cause of anguish to yourself than it has proved to me this day.
Tell me, who bought her?
I'faith, I do not know.
Well, is this a good friend giving one his aid?
What would you have me do?
The same that you see me doing. Die with grief. But, did you make enquiry? What was the appearance of the person that had bought her? Perhaps the damsel might have been traced out by that means.
Ah, wretch that I am!
Do cease lamenting. Attend to that which you are now about.
What have I done?
Prove the destruction of myself, and with myself of your own word.
The gods know that it is not any fault of mine.
A fine thing indeed. You mention the gods who are absent as witnesses. How am I to believe you in that?
Why, it rests with your own self what to believe. With myself, what to say, that rests with me.
On that point you are ready so as to give answer like for like. But as to what you are requested, you are lame, blind, dumb, defective, and weak. You promised that you would trick my father. I myself supposed that I was entrusting the matter to a skilful person, and I entrusted it to an utter stone.
What could I do?
What could you do, do you ask me? You should have inquired, and asked who he was, or whence he was, of what lineage, whether he was a citizen or a foreigner.
They said that he was a citizen of Attica.
At least you should have found out where he lives, if you couldn't the name.
No person was able to say he knew.
But at least you should have inquired what was the appearance of the man.
I did do so.
Of what figure, then, did they say he was?
I'll tell you. Grey-headed, bandy-legged, pot-bellied, wide-mouthed, of stunted figure, with darkish eyes, lank jaws, splay-footed, rather.
You are mentioning to me not a human being, but a whole storehouse, I don't know what, of deformities. Is there anything else that you can tell about him?
It is just as much as I know.
In troth, for sure, with his lank jaws, has he caused my jaw to drop. I cannot endure it. I'm determined that I'll go hence in exile. But what state in especial to repair to, I'm in doubt. Megara, Eretria, Corinth, Chalcis, Crete, Cyprus, Sicyon, Knidos, Zacynthus, Lesbos, or Boeotia.
Why are you adopting that design?
Why? Because love is tormenting me.
What say you as to this? Suppose, if when you have arrived there, whither you are now intending to go, you begin there to fall desperately in love, and there, too, you fail of success, then you'll be taking flight from there as well, and after that again from another place. If the same shall happen, what bounds, pray, will be set to your exile? What limits to your flight? What country or home can possibly be certain for you? Tell me that. Say now, if you leave this city, do you fancy that you'll leave your love here behind? If it is so fully taken, as certain in your mind, that so it will be, if you hold that as a point resolved upon, how much better is it for you to go away somewhere in the country, to be there, to live there, until the time when desire for her and passion have set you at liberty?
Have you now said your say?
I have said it.
You have said it to no purpose. This is my full determination. I'll be off home to pay my duty to my father and my mother. After that, unknown to my father, I'll fly from this country, or adopt some other plan.
Goes into Demipho's house. Scene 6. Eutychus alone.
How suddenly he has taken himself off and gone away. Ah, wretch that I am! If he goes away, all will say that it has happened through my remissness. I'm determined at once to order as many criers as possible to be hired to search for her, to find her. After that, I'll go to the praetor forthwith and beg him to give me search warrant officers in all the quarters of the city, for I find that nothing else whatever is now left for me to do.
Exit. End of Act 3. Act 4 of Mercator, The Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus, translated by Henry Thomas Riley. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Dorippa. Dorippa to herself.
Since a messenger came to me in the country from my husband that he couldn't come into the country, I made up my mind, and came back to follow after him, who fled from me. But,
looking round,
I don't see our old woman Syra following. Look, there she comes at last.
Enter Syra, with a bundle of green sprigs.
Why don't you go quicker?
By my troth, I cannot. So great is this burden that I'm carrying.
What burden?
80 years and 4, and to that are added servitude, sweat, and thirst. These things as well which I am carrying weigh me down.
Give me something, Syra, with which to decorate this altar of our neighbor.
Syra, holding out a sprig.
Present this sprig of laurel, then.
Now do you go into the house.
I'm going.
Goes into the house of Lysimachus. Dorippa, laying the sprig on the altar.
Apollo, I pray thee that thou wilt propitiously grant peace, safety, and health unto our household, in that in thy propitiousness thou wilt show favor to my son.
Syra rushes out of the house, clapping her hands.
I'm utterly undone. Wretch that I am, I'm ruined. Ah, wretched me!
Prithee, are you quite in your senses? What are you howling for?
Dorippa, my dear Dorippa.
Prithee, why are you crying out?
Some woman, I know not who, is here indoors, in the house.
What? A woman?
A harlot woman.
Is it so? Really?
In serious truth. You know how to act very prudently in not remaining in the country. A fool even could have found it out that she was the mistress of your very pretty husband.
By heavens, I believe it.
Syra, taking her arm.
Step this way with me, that you, my Juno, may see as well your rival Alcmena.
I troth, I certainly shall go there, as fast as I can.
They go into the house of Lysimachus. Scene 2. Enter Lysimachus. Lysimachus to himself.
Is this too little of a misfortune? That Demipho's in love, that he must be extravagant as well. If he had been inviting 10 men of highest rank to dinner, he has provided too much. But the cooks he directed in such a way, just as at sea the timekeeper is wont to direct the rowers. I hired a cook myself, but I'm surprised that he hasn't come as I directed him. But who's this, I wonder, that's coming out of my house? The door's opening.
He stands aside. Scene 3. Enter Dorippa from the house of Lysimachus. Dorippa, weeping.
No woman ever will be, or ever has been, more wretched than myself in being married to such a husband. Alas, unhappy that I am. Just see, to what a husband have you committed yourself, in the property you have. Just see, to what a person I brought 10 talents for a portion, that I should see these things, that I should endure these insults.
Lysimachus behind.
Troth, I'm undone. My wife's returned from the country already. I do believe she has seen the damsel in the house, but what she says I cannot distinctly hear from hence. I'll go nearer to her.
Approaches her.
Ah, woe to wretched me!
Lysimachus behind.
Aye, and to me as well.
I'm utterly undone.
Lysimachus behind.
As for me, faith, to my sorrow I'm downright undone. She has seen her. May all the gods confound you, Demipho.
My troth! This was it! Why my husband wouldn't go into the country?
Lysimachus, behind.
What shall I do now but go up and speak to her?
Goes up to her.
The husband bids health to his wife. Are the country people becoming townsfolk?
They're acting more decently than those who are not become country people.
Are the people in the country at all in fault?
A faith, less so than the townsfolk, and much less mischief do they meet with for themselves.
But in what have the townsfolk done wrong? Tell me that.
Whose woman is that in the house?
What? Have you seen her?
I have seen her.
Whose is she, do you ask?
I shall find out, in spite of you. I long to know, but you are trying me on purpose.
Do you wish me to tell you who she is? She...
Aside.
Ah, me. Upon my faith, I don't know what to say.
Do you hesitate?
Lysimachus, aside.
I never saw one who did it more.
But why don't you tell me?
Nay, but if I may...
You ought to tell me.
Cannot you hurry me so? You press me as though we're guilty.
Dorippa, ironically.
I know you are free from all guilt.
Speak out as boldly as you please.
Tell me, then.
I tell you.
Why, it must be told, in spite of everything.
She is... do you wish me to tell her name as well?
You are trifling. I've caught you in the fact. You are guilty.
Guilty of what? If now I had no occasion for silence, now I shouldn't tell you. Why, this same woman is...
Who is she?
She,
Mary, come up. Don't you know who she is?
Why, yes, I do know. I've been chosen as an arbitrator with respect to her.
An arbitrator? Now I know. You have invited her here to consult with you.
Why, no. She has been given me as a deposit.
Dorippa, ironically.
I understand.
By my troth, it's not anything of that sort.
You are clearing yourself too soon.
Lysimachus, aside.
Too much of a business have I met with. Really, I'm stuck fast.
Scene 4. Enter a cook, at a distance, with scullions and provisions.
Make haste. Get quickly on, for I've got to cook a dinner for an old gentleman in love. And, in fact, when I think of it again, it's to be cooked for ourselves, not him for whom we've been hired. For a person that's in love, if he has that with which he is in love, he esteems that his food, to see her, embrace her, kiss her, chat with her. But we, I trust, shall return well laden home. Step this way. But see, here's the old gentleman that hired us.
Lysimachus, aside.
Why, look, I'm undone. Here's the cook.
Cook, going up to Lysimachus.
We are come.
Be off.
How be off?
Hush! Be off!
What? I be off?
Be off, I say!
Are you not going to have a dinner?
We are full already.
But...
Lysimachus, aside.
I'm utterly undone.
What say you? Have those persons ordered those things to be brought to you as well, between whom you were appointed arbitrator?
Is this person,
pointing to Dorippa,
your mistress, whom a little time since you told me you were in love with when you were buying the provisions?
Won't you hold your tongue?
A very pretty figure of a woman. In faith, she does love a sweetheart.
Would you be off to perdition?
She's not amiss.
But you are amiss.
In troth, I do fancy she's a nice bedfellow.
Won't you be off? I'm not the person that hired you just now.
How's that? Nay, but upon my faith, you are that very man.
Lysimachus aside.
Alas, wretch that I am!
Your wife's in the country, I suppose, whom you were saying a little time ago you hated full as much as vipers.
I said that to you?
Aye, to me, upon my faith.
So may Jupiter love me, wife. I never did say that.
Do you deny that as well?
Cook to Dorippa.
He didn't say he hated you, but his wife.
This is made clear, that you detest me.
But I deny it.
And he said that his wife was in the country.
Lysimachus pointing to Dorippa.
This is she. Why are you annoying me?
Because you say that you don't know me. Are you afraid of her?
I'm wise in being so, for she's my only companion.
Do you wish to use my services?
I don't wish.
Give me my pay.
Ask for it tomorrow, it shall be given you. For the present, be off.
Aside.
Alas, wretch that I am! I now find that old saying is a true one, that some bad comes through a bad neighbor.
Cook to the scullions.
Why are we standing here?
Why don't you be gone?
Cook aside to Lysimachus.
If any inconvenience happens to you, that's not my fault.
Why, you are utterly ruining wretched me.
I understand now what you want. You mean you wish me to go away from here.
I do wish it, I say.
I'll be off. Pay me a drachma.
It shall be paid.
Then order it to be paid me, please. It can be paid in the meantime, while they are putting down the provisions.
Why don't you be off? Can't you cease being troublesome?
Slips the money into his hand. Cook to the scullions.
Come, do you set down those provisions before the feet of that old gentleman?
To Lysimachus.
These baskets I'll order to be fetched from your house either by and by, or else tomorrow.
To the scullions.
Do you follow me?
Exeunt, having set down the provisions. Scene 5. Lysimachus, Dorippa, Syra.
Perhaps you are surprised at that, cook, that he came and brought these things. I'll tell you why it is.
I'm not surprised if you do anything wrongful or criminal, and by heavens, I'll not put up with it. That I am married, thus unfortunately, and that harlots are brought into my house in this way. Syra, go ask my father, in my name, to come here directly together with you.
I'll go.
Prithee, wife, you don't know what the matter is. In set form now I will make oath that I have never had anything to do with her.
Exit Syra.
What is Syra gone now? By heaven, I'm undone.
Dorippa goes into the house. Scene 6. Lysimachus alone.
But see, she's off as well. Woe to wretched me! Then, neighbor Demipho, may the gods and goddesses confound you, together with your mistress and your intriguings. He has most unjustly loaded me with suspicions. He has stirred up enemies against me. At home my wife is most infuriated. I'll be off to the forum, and tell this to Demipho, that I'll drag this woman by her hair into the street, unless he takes her hence out of this house wherever he chooses.
Goes to the door and calls.
Hark you, wife! Although you are angry at me, you'll order, if you are wise, these things to be carried hence indoors. We shall be able by and by to dine all the better upon the same.
Scene 7. Enter Syra and Eutychus at a distance, on opposite sides. Syra to herself.
Whither my mistress sent me, to her father. He's not at home. They said that he has gone off into the country. Now I'll take home this answer. In faith, the women do live upon hard terms, and wretched creatures on much more unjust ones than the men. For if a husband has been keeping a mistress without the knowledge of his wife, if the wife comes to know it, the husband gets off with impunity. If, unknown to the husband, the wife goes from the house out of doors, a pretext arises for the husband, the marriage is dissolved. I wish the law was the same for the husband as for the wife. For the wife that is a good one, is content with one husband, why, any the less should the husband be content with one wife. By my troth, I'd give cause if men were punished in the same way, if any one should be keeping a mistress unknown to his wife, as those women are repudiated who are guilty of a slip, that there should be more divorced men than there are women now.
Eutychus to himself, apart.
I am quite tired with hunting the whole city through. I find nothing whatever about this woman. But my mother has returned from the country, for I see Syra standing before the house. Syra?
Who is it that's calling me?
'Tis I, your master and foster child.
Syra turning round.
Save you, my foster child.
Has my mother returned from the country, then? Answer me.
Aye, for her own special sake and that of the family.
What is it that's the matter?
That very pretty father of yours has brought a mistress into the house.
How say you?
Your mother, on arriving from the country, found her at home.
By my troth, I didn't think my father was a person for those practices. Is the woman now even still indoors?
Even still.
Do you follow me?
He goes into the house of Lysimachus. Syra to herself.
How now? Do I see Peristrata here, the wife of Demipho? She quickens her pace. She glances about with her eyes. She turns herself round. She inclines her neck on one side. I'll observe from here what matter she's about. It's something of importance, whatever scent she's upon.
Stands aside. Scene 8. Enter Peristrata and Lycissa, from the house of Demipho.
The goddess Astarte is the might of mortals, and of the gods, their life, their health. She, the same who is likewise their death, destruction, downfall, the seas, the earth, the heaven, and the stars. Whatever temples of Jove we inhabit, they are guided by her nod. Her do they obey, to her do they pay regard. What displeases her, the other deities do quickly put aside. Whatever pleases her, that all things which live and have sense do pursue. Some she tortures, destroys. Others with her own milk does she nourish, and raise aloft. But those whom she tortures, they live and enjoy their senses. Those whom she hastens to rear and raise aloft, these last indeed do perish forthwith, and to their sorrow use their senses. Then well-wishers, they lie prostrate, objects of dislike, they bite the ground, grovel upon their faces, roar out and make a riot. And when they think they live, then in especial do they rush on to ruin. Then do they show eagerness in the pursuit of the object beloved. Young men stumble, aged men likewise are led away. They love themselves. The object which they love, they wish to be loved and known. But if at that age they begin to fall in love, much more grievous is their madness. But if they do not love, then they hate. They are morose, too, and wayward, tattlers, haters, ill-disposed, passionate, envious for themselves and theirs. What they have formerly been shamelessly guilty of themselves, if done in a more quiet way, fathers do not tolerate as they ought to do, but they proclaim it, and indecently cry it aloud.
Syra apart.
So far as I understand, Demipho is treating this lady badly, too.
This is the truth. My son is in love and is dying. When his father came to know of it, he was enraged beyond bonds. What insanity is this? This same husband of mine at one time packed my son off to Rhodes to traffic. Now, according to the news Acanthio brings, he'll be betaking himself into banishment. O unjust father! O unfortunate son! Whither will you betake yourself? Where will you leave your mother? Shall I pass my life bereft? Shall I lose my son? I will not endure it. Has his father sold her? Wherever she shall be found, the mother will redeem her. Do you tell me, Lycissa, do they suppose that she was brought into this neighborhood?
Lycissa, pointing to the house of Lysimachus.
To that, I fancy, to the house of a certain old gentleman, a friend.
Here there is no one that I know of, besides Lysimachus.
Syrah apart.
They are mentioning Lysimachus. It's a wonder if the old fellows, who are neighbors, haven't been going halves in the same nest.
I'll go look for Dorippa, his wife.
The door of the house of Lysimachus opens.
Why go look for her? Don't you see her?
Indeed, I do see her. Let's listen. She's muttering something in a passion. I know not what. To herself.
They stand aside. Scene 9. Enter Dorippa from the house of Lysimachus. Dorippa to herself.
Syra hasn't come back. Poor wretch. It's now a long time since I sent her to fetch my father. In her slowness, she has either hardened into stone, or she has stopped from swelling with the sting of a serpent.
Syrah apart.
I'm undone. Here's my mistress. She's looking after me.
Dorippa continuing.
I cannot remain at home. My eyes cannot abide that pretty young harlot. I would have shut her out of doors. But my son Eutychus prevented me. Still, I shan't altogether believe the news he brings.
Lycissa apart.
Do you hear, mistress?
I hear. Let her go on.
I'll let her.
Dorippa to herself.
He says that she has come hither to our house for the sake of an old gentleman, a friend, that he has her for sale, so that he may withdraw her from his son, who's in love with her. This really is a falsehood, either in my husband or my son. The accounts differ. The husband says that she was given him as a deposit, but the son says that she's on sale.
Syrah apart.
I'll go meet her on a sudden, that she mayn't find out that I've been loitering.
In this matter, I shan't believe my son, who's acting in compliance with his father, for him, like a regular cuckoo, has he determined to tell an abundance of lies. For my own part, I shall believe the cook in preference. But, see, here's Syrah. How the old witch does run. Syrah!
Who's calling me?
Stares around her.
The gods send a plague upon you.
Mistress, if you are wise, bestow this upon your rival and your husband in preference.
For saying that, I'm no longer angry with you. But where's your father? Why does he delay? Does gout hinder the man?
He's lame with neither gout nor chalk stones, whom his feet carry into the country.
Not at home?
No.
Where then?
They say he's in the country, and that it's uncertain whether he'll return today. He has such a large account with his bailiff.
Everything's befalling me this day, contrary to my wishes. I shan't live till this evening, unless I drive that hussy away from the house.
She turns to the door.
I'm going home.
Lycissa apart.
The mistress is going away.
What? Going away? Call her.
Dorippa! Dorippa!
Dorippa turning round.
What nuisance is this? Who's calling me back?
I'm not a nuisance, but a well-wisher. Hennet, your friend Peristrata addresses you. Prithee do stay.
Why, Peristrata, I've faith. I didn't know you. Dreadful vexation is tormenting and agitating me.
This I inquire about. Prithee don't deny me. I heard you just now. Tell me what annoyance is troubling you.
Peristrata, so may the gods prosper your only son. Do kindly lend me your attention. None could be given me more agreeably. Our ages are alike. Together we grew up. We have husbands alike in age. With no one do I converse with greater pleasure. I'm really annoyed, with good reason. What now would your feelings be, if at this time of your life your husband Demipho were to bring a mistress before your eyes?
Has he brought one?
So it is.
She's at your house.
At my house, aye. And cooks were hired. A banquet was being prepared. If my coming hadn't upset everything, Venus and Cupid are tormenting the wretched old fellow at the unseasonable time.
But these things are trifles, Dorippa. I wish that I wasn't more wretched.
Trifles?
Really trifles.
What worse could your husband do?
Aye, worse than worse.
What is it? Prithee, do say. As you to me, so I to you. Let's give advice to each other what needs to be done. It's an old saying that he's truly wise who is wise at the risk of another.
Dorippa, I have an only son. Do you know that?
I do know it.
Him his father some time ago packed off from his own house to Rhodes.
For what reason?
Because he was in love.
For that very thing?
Yes, and the very same thing now as well. Inasmuch as he had brought a female slave here, his father coming to know of it, took her away, and put her up for sale.
Aye, I know it. My son told me the truth. I fancied she was the mistress of my husband. To whom was she entrusted?
To a certain old gentleman in this neighborhood, his friend. I think he has no other friend here, except your husband.
Dorippa, aside.
It certainly is she.
To Peristrata.
What does your son?
He declares that he'll leave the city.
The matter's in a safe position. What if he finds her?
I imagine he'll stay.
Beyond expectation, we're saved. Don't doubt it. She's at my house.
At your house? It was she, I suppose, about whom I heard you talking just now.
It was she.
Oh, well done. I love you with reason. You've restored me my son. Do let me see her.
Let's go indoors, then.
Let's go.
Turning round.
Come here, Lycissa. Do you go tell these things to Acanthio. I'll go here to Dorippa's house.
Exit Lycissa. Dorippa, Peristrata, and Syra go into the house of Lysimachus. End of Act 4. Act 5 of Mercator, the Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus, translated by Henry Thomas Riley. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Charinus from the house of Demipho in a travelling habit. Charinus, looking towards the door.
O higher and lower portions of the threshold, now both of you farewell. This day for the last time do I raise this foot within my father's house. The ease, the enjoyment, the indwelling, the habitation of this house is henceforth for me cut off, destroyed, and alienated. I am undone. The household gods of my parents, the law of the father of the family, to you do I recommend that you will kindly protect the possessions of my parents. I shall now seek other household gods for myself, another law, another city, another state. The people of Attica I do detest, for where worse manners are on the increase every day, where those who are friends, those who are faithless, you are not able to distinguish, and where that is torn away from you which especially pleases your taste, there, in fact, if a kingdom were given one, that country is not desirable.
Stands aside in deep thought. Scene 2. Enter Eutychus from the house of Lysimachus at a distance. Eutychus to himself.
thou who art the overlooker of gods and of men, and the mistress of mortals as well, inasmuch as thou hast indulged me in this hope that I entertained, I do return thee thanks. What deity is there now that is joyous with gladness like mine? That was at home which I was in search of. There did I find 6 companions, life, friendship, my native land, festivity, mirth, and jollity. On finding these, at the same moment did I utterly destroy 10 very bad things: wrath, hatred, folly, ruin, perverseness, grief, tears, exile, want, and loneliness. Ye gods, I pray you grant me a speedy opportunity of meeting him.
Charinus to himself, not seeing Eutychus.
I'm ready prepared, as you see. Pride I cast aside. I'm my own companion, attendant, horse, groom, esquire. I'm my own master. I too obey myself. For my own self do I carry what I require. O Cupid, how powerful art thou! For easily dost thou render any one resolute through thy deeds, and then again the same person diffident forthwith from being overbold.
Eutychus to himself.
I'm thinking which way to run in search of him.
Charinus continuing.
The matter's resolved upon, that I'll seek her everywhere, wherever in the world she has been carried off from hence. And neither shall any river stand in my way, nor mountain, nor sea, indeed, nor heat, nor cold. I dread neither wind nor hail. The torrents of rain I'll submit to, labor, heat, and thirst will I endure. I'll neither stop nor rest anywhere at night, or in the day, assuredly, before I shall have met with either my mistress or my death.
Eutychus, looking round.
Some voice, I know not whose, flew to my ear.
Charinus continuing.
You do I invoke, ye Lares of the roads, that you will kindly lend me aid.
Eutychus, seeing Charinus.
Jupiter, isn't that Charinus?
Charinus, turning round.
Fellow citizens, fare ye well.
Eutychus, aloud.
Charinus, stop, this instant.
Who calls me back?
Hope, safety, victory.
What do you want with me?
To go along with you.
Look for another companion. These companions that have possession of me will not part with me.
Who are they?
Care, misery, sickness, tears, and lamentation.
Drive away these companions, and look this way and return.
If indeed you wish to speak to me, do you follow?
Moves on.
Stop this instant.
You do amiss in delaying me as I haste. The sun is setting.
If you would make haste in this direction, just as you are hastening in that one, you'd be doing more rightly. This way there is now a prospering gale. Only tack about. Here is a fair westerly breeze, there is a showery southern blast. The one causes a calm, the other stirs up all the waves. Betake yourself towards the land, Charinus, in this direction. Don't you see right opposite? Black clouds and showers are coming on. Look now to the left, how full the heaven is of brightness. Don't you see right opposite?
He has thrown religious scruples in my way. I'll betake myself in that direction.
Turns towards Eutychus.
You are wise, O Charinus. Turn your steps, and turn your feet as well in the opposite direction. Extend your arm, catch hold of me. Do you hold me now?
I'm holding you.
Hold on, then. Whither now are you going?
Into banishment.
What to do there?
As a wretched person would.
Don't fear. This instant shall I restore you to joyousness before you go away.
I'm going.
Moves.
A thing that you especially long to hear, the same shall you hear for you to rejoice at. Stay this instant. I'm come as a friend, full of kindest feelings.
What is it?
Your mistress.
What of her?
I know where she is.
Prithee, do you?
She's safe and sound.
Where is she safe?
I know where.
I'd much rather I did.
Can't you possibly be calm in your feelings?
What if my feelings are agitated?
I'll bring them for you into a safe and tranquil state. Don't you fear.
Prithee, do say where she is, where you've seen her. Why are you mute? Speak. You are torturing to death wretched me by your silence.
She isn't far from here.
Why then don't you point her out if you see her?
I'faith, I don't see her at this moment, but I saw her just now.
Why then don't you cause me to see her?
I will cause it.
That means a long time for one in love.
Are you still in apprehension? I'll disclose it all. No person is there living more beloved by me than is he who has got her, nor is there one to whom it is right that I should be a better wisher.
I don't care about that. I'm looking for her.
About her, then, I'm telling you. Really, this has not come into my mind but this moment, to tell it to you.
Tell me, then, where she is.
In our house.
If you are telling the truth, a worthy house and aptly built, I deem it. But how am I to credit that? Have you seen her, or do you speak from hearsay?
I've seen her myself.
Who took her to your house?
Why, you're asking an unfair question. What matters it to you with whom she came?
So long as she's there.
She certainly is.
Then for these tidings do you wish whatever you please.
What if I do wish?
Pray to the gods to bring its fulfillment.
You're laughing at me.
My fortunes, in fine, are redeemed if I can see her. But why don't I lay aside this garb?
Goes to the door of Demipho's house and calls.
Hello, somebody, come here this instant out of doors. Come out and bring me thence a cloak this way.
Well, now, how much you do gratify me.
Charinus to a boy who enters, bringing his cloak.
You, boy, who have come with such speed, take my scarf.
Giving it.
And now stand aside there, that if these things are not true, I may hasten to go upon this intended journey.
To Eutychus.
Are you telling the truth?
Really, Charinus, you're not ashamed of anything. Don't you believe me?
For my part, I really do believe everything that you tell me. But why don't you introduce me to her, that I may see her?
Wait a little.
Why am I to wait?
It's not a convenient moment to go into the house.
You are torturing me to death.
There's no need, I tell you, for you to go into the house just now.
Answer me, for what reason?
She's not at leisure.
Why so?
Because it isn't convenient to her.
Is it so? Not convenient to her who loves me, and whom I love in return? He's trifling with me in every way. I'm too foolish to believe him. He's only delaying me.
Turns to the boy.
I'll put on my scarf again.
Stop a little and listen to this.
Charinus taking off the cloak.
You, boy, take this cloak, please.
Puts on the travelling scarf.
Really, this hasn't come, but this moment, into my mind to tell it you. My mother's dreadfully angry with my father, because he has brought into the house a harlot before her very eyes, while she was away in the country. She suspects that she's his own mistress.
Charinus not attending to him.
I've taken up my belt.
Puts it on.
She's now inquiring into this matter indoors.
Charinus inattentive.
Now my sword's in hand.
Taking it from the boy.
But if I were now to introduce you...
Charinus inattentive.
I'll take my bottle and be off from here.
Moves.
Stop, Charinus.
You are mistaken. You can't deceive me.
And i'faith, I have no wish.
Why then don't you allow me to proceed upon my journey?
I won't let you.
I'm delaying myself. Boy, do you this instant be off hence indoors.
The boy goes into the house.
Now I've ascended the chariot. Now I've taken the reins in my hands.
Imitating the action of a charioteer.
You're not in your senses.
Feet of mine, why don't ye betake yourselves into the chariot straight for Cyprus, since my father determines on my banishment?
You are silly. Prithee, don't be saying this.
Charinus as though to himself.
I'm resolved to persist, to use my endeavours to seek her out where she is.
Why, she's at our house.
Charinus as though to himself.
For what that person said, he told a falsehood in it.
Really, I told you the truth.
Charinus continuing.
Now I've come to Cyprus.
Nay, but follow me, that you may see her whom you are looking for.
Moves towards his father's house. Charinus pretending not to hear.
Inquiring there, I didn't find her.
I'll not care then for my mother's anger.
Charinus still pretending.
I'll still go on to seek her. Now I've got to Chalcis. I see there my former host at Zacynthus. I tell him why I've come thither. I make enquiry if he has heard say who has brought her thither, who has got possession of her.
Why don't you cease that nonsense, and step with me this way indoors?
Charinus still pretending.
My host answered that figs grew, not bad ones, at Zacynthus.
He didn't say false there.
Charinus continuing.
But he says that he has heard about my mistress, that she's here at Athens.
Really, this Zacynthean is quite a Caucus.
Charinus continuing.
I get aboard ship and start at once. I'm now at home. Now I've returned from banishment. My friend Eutychus.
Turning towards him.
Greetings to you. How have you been? How are my parents? Are they well? Do you come to my mother, you say? You invite me kindly. You speak politely. At your house tomorrow, for the present at home. So it is proper. So it ought to be done.
How now? What are you dreaming about? This man's not in his senses.
Why don't you, as a friend, make haste to cure me, then?
Follow me, please.
Charinus running close behind him.
I'm following.
Eutychus turning round.
Softly, pray, for you are treading on my heels. Don't you hear me?
I've heard you for some time past.
I want a reconciliation to be made between my father and mother, for now she's in a passion.
Charinus pushing him.
Only do go on.
About that woman.
Charinus pushing him.
Only do go on.
Therefore take care.
Charinus pushing him.
Nay, but do go on, then. I'll make her as mild as Juno is when she's kind to Jupiter.
They go into the house of Lysimachus. Scene 3. Enter Demipho and Lysimachus.
Demipho, this saying of the wise I think you have often heard. Pleasure is the bait for misfortune, because by it not less are men caught than are fish with the hook. Although aged people fly from it, still you don't pay that regard to your old age, since it hasn't even withdrawn love from you, but has forced you to it even more vehemently. Wherefore it utterly confounds yourself and your understanding and your mind, and dazzles your eyesight. Myself too have you brought into great trouble, and I know not what to do.
Lysimachus, this is the will of the gods, not of men. If you reflect upon this with yourself, you will be of opinion that you are not doing right in censuring so heavily a person, your friend, and the sharer of your secrets, as though you yourself had never done anything like this action.
By heavens, never! I took care not to do anything, wretch that I am. I am scarcely alive, for my wife is lying all in a ferment about her.
But I'll undertake to clear you, so that she mayn't be angry.
Follow me, but I see my son coming out.
Scene 4. Enter Eutychus from the house of Lysimachus. Eutychus, as he comes out, to Charinus within.
I'll go to my father, that he may know my mother's wrath is appeased. I'll return just now.
Lysimachus to Demipho.
The beginning pleases me.
Going up to Eutychus.
What are you about? How goes it, Eutychus?
Extremely opportunely have you both met me.
What's the matter?
Your wife is peaceful and appeased. Give me your right hands this moment.
Shakes hands with them both.
The gods are favoring me.
Eutychus to Demipho.
I bring you word that you have got no mistress.
The gods confound you. Why, prithee, what affair is this?
I'll tell you. Give your attention then, both of you.
Well, then, we are giving you our attention, both of us.
Those who are born of a good family, if they are of bad tendencies, by their own faultiness, withdraw nobleness from their rank, and disgrace their disposition.
He says what's true.
Then it's to yourself he says it.
But for this reason is the more true, for at this time of life it wasn't just for you to take away from your son, a young man, his mistress, purchased with his own money.
How say you? Is she the mistress of Charinus?
Eutychus aside.
How the rogue does dissemble.
Why, he said that he had bought her as a maidservant for his mother.
Was it for that reason, then, you brought her, you young lover, you old boy?
Very well said, I troth. Proceed. I'll stand by him here on the other side. Let's both load him well with such speeches as he's worthy of.
Demipho aside.
I'm done for.
Who has done an injustice so great to his blameless son, whom, in fact, upon my faith, I brought back home just when he was setting out in self-banishment, for he was going into exile.
Has he gone, then?
What do you speak, you hobgoblin? At this time of life you ought to abstain from those pursuits.
I confess it. Undoubtedly, I've acted wrong.
What do you speak, you hobgoblin? You ought at this time of life to have done with these guilty practices. Just as the seasons of the year, so different lines of conduct befit different ages. But if this is proper, that old fellows should be wenching in their old age, where in the world is our common welfare?
Alas, wretch that I am, I'm undone.
The young men are more in the habit of giving their attention to following those pursuits.
Troth, now, prithee, do take her to yourselves, with pigs and with basket.
Restore her to your son. Let him have her now, as he wishes.
So far as I'm concerned, he may have her.
High time, i'faith, since you haven't the power of doing otherwise.
For this injury let him take what satisfaction he likes. Only do you make peace, I beg of you, that he mayn't be angry with me. I'faith, if I had known it, or if, indeed, he had told me, in the slightest way of joke, that he was in love with her, I should never have proceeded to take her away from him so in love. Eutychus, you are his companion. Preserve and rescue me, I beg of you. Make this old fellow your client. You shall say that I'm mindful of a kindness.
Entreat him that he'll pardon his offences and his youthful age.
Heyday now! Are you still persisting in inveighing against me with your airs? I trust that a like opportunity will befall me as well for returning you a similar compliment.
I've long made an end of those pursuits.
And really, so shall I, from this time forward.
Not a bit of it. Through usage, your inclinations will be leading you to it again.
Prithee, do now be satisfied. Rather scourge me with thongs even, if you like.
You say right, but that your wife will do when she comes to know of this.
There's no need for her to come to know of it.
What's that? She shan't come to know of it? Don't be afraid. Let's go indoors. This place isn't a suitable one for your practices, for there to be persons to overhear who are passing through the street while we are talking.
Why, faith, you say what's right. That way the story will be shorter. Let's be off.
Your son is indoors here at our house.
It's very good. We'll pass that way through the garden home.
Eutychus, I want this affair to be settled before I set my foot again within doors.
What is it?
Each person thinks about his own concerns. Answer me this. Do you know for certain that your mother isn't angry with me?
I do know it.
Take care.
Trust me for it. Are you satisfied?
I am. But still, troth now, prithee, do take care.
Don't you believe me?
Yes, I do believe you. But still, I'm dreadfully afraid.
Let's go indoors.
Aye, but I think we must pronounce the law for the old men before we depart, on what terms they are to keep check upon themselves and to be continent. whoever shall be 60 years of age, if we know of any one, whether husband or, i' faith, whether bachelor, in fact, who goes a-wenching, upon these terms shall we deal with him. We shall deem him a fool. And, i' faith, so far as we're concerned, he shall be in want who has squandered away his property. And let no one hereafter forbid his youthful son to be in love and to keep a mistress, so it be done in a decent manner. If he shall forbid him, let him, unknown to himself, suffer more loss than if he had openly permitted him. Let this law, then, from this night forward be binding upon the old men.
To the audience.
Young men, kindly fare you well, and if this law, enacted for the sake of the old ones, pleases you, it is right that you should give us loud applause.
End of Act 5. End of Mercator, the Merchant, by Titus Maccius Plautus. Translated by Henry Thomas Riley.